Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
It is. I'm going to start by saying that
one thing, very important, very important. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. We are not going to attempt to save you from anything. If you watch this, you're going to know everything about this movie, but I think you'll still want to watch it.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, we could tell you, and you could barely definitively. Well, you'll hear when we talk about it. It really doesn't spoil anything, I don't think. But okay, so my first problem with it, and this is, like I said, this is more of a reflection on me than it is on the show. It is a British film. Okay, so, and I struggled, and I'm not going to lie to you. I struggled with the fact that it was a British show. And what I mean by that is, first of all, they were really heavy accented, sort of Liverpoolish accents, and there were parts of it. Maybe it was because it's me and I was just tired and I've been taking so many Spanish classes. But there were times that I was struggling to understand what the hell they were saying. I'm not going to lie to you. Phil's looking at me like this is definitely a mic problem. So that made it. I don't want to say it made it less enjoyable, but it made it a little bit more difficult for me to follow, because but not only is there an accent, but there also is call it colloquialisms or sayings or things that, the dialogue, just like you would if you were watching any other British show. Which, by the way, having traveled to United Kingdom and England and various places many times in my life, I would not be the guy that you would expect to say I didn't understand what they were saying, but I am. So I did struggle with that. So Phil's looking at me crazy. You didn't have any challenge with that, I'm guessing, Phil.
It may be because I'm more acclimated. I've been watching British stuff all the way since back in black and white on PBS. I forget the name of the one.
Oh, I mean, I watched all the Monty Pythons. I've watched I've watched tons of Doctor Who. I mean, I've watched lots of British stuff, so it's not like I haven't.
Yeah, I think I'm just. I think I'm a little more acclimated to the voices. Like I recognize some of like you probably didn't know what nonsense were or something like that.
No, I get a lot of the. Let's be clear here. They were not speaking Queen's English though. This was a heavily accented sort of Liverpool accent. Like if you travel around England, the accents are between London and Birmingham and Liverpool and Southampton are very different.
And I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but it's the truth. You can also kind of tell people where they're from. I don't mean like what neighborhood but how you grew up. Sure. And things like that.
Yes.
And these were the accents of commoners, in my opinion. The average.
Absolutely. And that, by the way, that's somewhat critical to understanding this series, is that these are commoners. These are just regular Joe family. So anyways, so let's not, I won't belabor the point of the accent thing. That was one thing that I just wanted to mention off the top.
So briefly give just what did we watch? What is it that we watched?
So it's a show about, in a nutshell, it is a teenage boy, 13 years old, I believe, that was arrested and charged with murdering a equal young girl of about the same age in a school. And it was I don't want to get ahead of myself here. It was interesting. So it's a 4-part series. So the first episode is when he gets arrested, is day one. The second episode is, I want to say, 2 weeks after. It happens, maybe 13 days, I think, or something, 2 weeks after the initial arrest. The third episode is about, I don't know, 4, 5 months later, maybe. And then the final episode, the fourth episode, is about a year, slightly over a year after he gets arrested. So
the second episode is 3 days after.
Yep.
The third episode is, which one was that? Is that the interview?
Yep.
That's like months after.
Yeah, months after.
And the last one is exactly 13 months.
13 months, exactly. So, and the reason, by the way, that we're explaining this to you here is that it's so what I loved about this series is that it is shot in one take. Each episode is shot in one take, meaning that from second number one, the camera starts recording, and it is a one take, no edits, no camera changes, no camera angle changes. Absolutely fascinating. This is not the first time this has been done. But it's not been done very often. But it's definitely an artistic style. So you got to understand that means two things. One, it tends to be have a feeling of chaos, a little bit chaotic, and two, it's minute to minute. So you got to understand. So this series, it was 4 hours long, covered exactly 4 hours of time. So episode one that happens when he gets arrested is 1 hour from the time they show up to arrest him to the end of that episode is 1 hour, 60 minutes exactly. So that makes it super interesting.
So basically, what begins as a murder investigation, it expands to dealing with social issues, health care, and family. It dissects like all of the sections that are not normally covered. I remember when Law and Order first came out, what made it so special was it was giving you dynamics and perspectives that generally were not written about and seen in a television show. And I think they took this not a huge step, but a slight step further, immersing us further. And the thing that stuck out to me, especially in the first episode, again, spoiler alerts, spoiler alerts, spoiler alerts. What stuck out to me in the first episode is I don't know anything about what happens when a child is arrested. And everything they showed you may be absolutely, completely wrong. But the way they filmed it, the way they did it, I'm led to believe that it was highly accurate as to how a child is brought through the judicial system by being first arrested.
Well, and let me pick up on that.
Very meticulous.
And because, like I said, it's a one take, continuous, no edit filming. It is done in real places. So you're not on a set, right? Because you got to realize the camera is moving around, and there's no way that you could film this in Hollywood. It's not being filmed on a set. So they're in a real police building. They're going through a real jail. They're going through, you know what I mean? So these are real scenarios. Everything is very real. I could spend hours just talking about the way that it was filmed, and I did spend hours because I got off of this thing, and I actually was more excited about the filming side of it than the actual the show itself. But I looked. There was one, believe it was in episode number 3, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, Phil. But there's one scene where the camera was a drone.
Right.
It was filming a guy, and then it sort of went up into the sky and then went to
another part of the city.
I'll call it across, over the city, kind of into another parking lot where the crime allegedly took place. And I was like, come on. They had to use AI on this. They had to splice it together. There's no... Well, I read a story about this. Dude, they took the camera out of the hands, put it on a drone, took it over the top, and then unloaded it all in one shot without cutting the scene at all. I was like, damn, I'm impressed by that. Super impressed by that.
You can actually see footage. They have footage showing you that particular move.
Yes.
Very nice drone. I wish I had the drone.
I sure do. That was no joke. So but what I want to let me give you another negative, and I'm going to ask you, Phil. Let me just ask you this: of the 4 episodes, which one did you like the best?
The same one everybody else did, the third one.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay, which one?
I liked the first one the best.
Okay, I dug it.
This might be because I was so fascinated by the way that it was filmed. The first one. So for those of you that did not watch it, let me explain for 1 second how you do a one take thing. Basically, you would let's say Phil was the main character right now, and I got the camera on Phil, and he's talking, he's doing whatever, and if I was gonna just in a normal production, I would just cut to another camera or into another room or somewhere else, and then I'd be filming, Joe down the hall. But that's not the way this works. So when you do no cuts, I'm filming Phil. He decides he's going to get up to go to the water bubbler and get some water, follows him down the hallway. Some guys come in the opposite direction, and that's what we want to see next. The camera turns and follows the second guy. So episode number 1 was fascinating because there was a lot of movement, a lot of chaos, particularly the first scene where they storm the house. It was all over the place. So you really, because it's a one take thing, you really get a really sense of being there. And that's why I liked episode number 1. So you say episode number 3. See, that's the one I liked the least. I liked episode 3 the least because there's no camera at all.
I disagree. So let me agree with you first. I was immediately from go when they first got in the vehicles and pulled off in the first couple of minutes of the first episode. I was drawn into the camera movement. I literally pushed pause to investigate because I didn't know about the camera movement. And then I went further. So I agree, it was exceptional, but it was more intriguing to me almost from a technical standpoint.
Yes.
Now, the reason why I feel number 3 is the best show, believe it or not, is actually, I believe that the camera work was used to its most effectiveness in episode 3. It gave you a highly immersive feeling of that interview. It constantly gave you angles that allowed you to understand not only the dynamics, but the emotions. I think it was I think the first episode showed off what you could do with it. I believe that episode 3 showed you what it could do as far as emotions, feelings, and stuff like that.
I would agree, Phil. Episode number 3 was the most emotional of the 4 episodes by far for me. And the tenseness and the feeling because the interview was, I was genuinely at one point afraid for the counselor. You know what I mean? There was tension, and you're right. I agree with you on the camera angles and the way that they did it. You were there. You might as well have been sitting at that table. So yes, I can see that.
Because the boy, who was an awesome actor, we'll get into that. What even made his a performance stick out was it was the right angle at the right time when he was doing the right thing, and then it switched to her and it showed her emotion, and it was almost it was controlling my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's talk about that for 1 second. The acting in this show, remember, this is one take, no retakes, the acting is phenomenal on the part of everybody. There's no question about that.
Well, let me say what I got to say about that then. I feel sorry for that little boy that he gave that performance on a television series. Because if that had been done in a movie, he's a shoo-in for an Oscar.
Yep.
That was an Oscar-winning performance, in my opinion, and a lot of others.
And let me also say this. If you look at the cast of characters for this series, you will notice something very unusual. And I know this is also a spoiler alert, but that boy that Phil's talking about is not even in episode 4. He is not even in episode 4. And by the way, if you look at the total cast of this series, I'm not sure any of them are in all of the episodes. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think anybody appears in all of the episodes.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I want to go a step further about the acting, Mike, because people all the time say, hey, there was some great acting in this show. I'm going as far as to say everybody, the extras, just random kids running down the hall, janitors, anybody that was on screen did a A+ job. They must have really felt like, hey, I'm in the big leagues. I better not mess this up, because everybody really shined, in my opinion.
And that was, to go back to what I liked, the episode 1 the best. Think about how many people were in episode 1, how much movement there was. And you can't, one guy screws up that scene, game over. Right? I mean, because there's no retake. Like, it's just one camera, continuous. Everybody had to be on.
Mike, you got to watch the Netflix how-tos on this, where they show the actual filming and stuff, and they show each episode. And like some of those episodes, they filmed it twice a day for a whole week, and they didn't get it until the last shot on the last day. Because
my point is that it had to be continuous. Like, it had to be a one take.
So let's break down episode by episode. So the first episode, Mike, was the arrest interrogation. What stood out to you beyond the cinematography that you love so much? Was it just the visual for you?
No. I think the first episode conveyed chaos, right? And it meant to convey chaos. So it was very chaotic scene where they storm this house. You immediately get the picture that, like, okay, this is what was interesting, because they storm a house. These are like regular Joes. Okay. The dad's a plumber. The mom's a housewife. The kid that is the accused has a slightly older sister. They're normal people, though, in a normal blue collar working class neighborhood. And they did such a good job of it. That, like, they were all like, what is going on? They did set you up in episode 1, in my opinion, where we legitimately did not know whether or not the kid did it or not.
Right. And that's, Mike, that's one of the reasons why this is such an excellent movie to me, because they did not rely on that. A lot of movies rely on trying to give you these stupid little tricks to keep you not believing this person did it or they did do it.
Right.
They didn't have no problem with, at the end of the show, letting you know, hey, he did it. And it's clear cut that he did it. This is so well written. We don't have to rely on that. Right. This wasn't a who done it. This was a why done it.
Yes. Agreed. Yep. And we'll talk about the why later on. We're not there yet, but so I think that's episode 1 sets it up. That to me, that's why that episode 1 to me was the best episode for sucking you into the series. So I get why.
So I agree with the confusion. There was a lot of confusion, but what I wanted to add to that was it was the setup for the second half, which was the calm.
Yes.
The way they pulled out the photos, and then they pulled out the video, and they did it meticulously in a certain order with the questioning and everything, and did it so calmly. that was amazing to me. It reminded me of the 12 Angry Men, where they just relied on dialogue.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And it sets up it basically sets up the series for the what later becomes probably the most important thing of the show. It sets up the relationship between the son and the dad. Right. You know, because the son in episode 1 is, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. And the dad is all on board with that.
Yes, they set him up, and not only that, it was also setting up the whole family. Yep. They made a point of the wife was really confused why he wasn't chose, why she wasn't chose. And they also started to create the character of the daughter. The daughter is immediately shown as an honorable person. Yep. The mother was accusing the people that were arresting that they took her and they threw her down, and the daughter wasn't having that. She was like, nope, none of that happened. They did what they said they were supposed to do. Yep. And she will continually through the show that she is the complete opposite of the brother, and that has impact on the story.
Yes. Agreed.
So let's go to episode 2, Mike, where they deal with the educational system, basically.
Yeah, you know, episode 2 for me was depressing, and maybe this is a problem with Mike again. So I'm laying the blame on me. So first it was the accents, and then I noticed in episode 2 my struggle was I go, God damn, is this how it really is? Because I don't know about you, Phil, but I was so depressed in this school. Like, you know, the kids were mean. They were, it was like, did the school remind you of a prison? Reminded me of a prison.
So I just had an epiphany. You don't have any kids, and right. If you did, they weren't recent.
Nope.
Anybody around my age or younger who has children is going to totally relate to everything in here, because this is the current educational system. I've told you a million times, I literally had to move to another state. The reason why we live here is because where I was living, the school system was so horrible. What you saw was the British version, but it's congruent with what's going on here in America.
Super depressing.
They showed the teacher coming in late, and when he came in, he was anxious to start a video, and the kids were anxious to start a video. They did not want to interact really.
Right.
When they cornered him, he was like, somebody needs to have some sympathy for me dealing with these kids. So it's like the kids are messed up, the teachers are messed up, the educational system is messed up, the parents are relying on the educational system to parent their kids.
Yep. And it's when they introduce to you sort of for the first time the social media factor and the way that the kids are interacting with each other, and you start getting the conflict, if you will, which obviously in this case led to a murder, but you start seeing the conflicts in the school between not only just, I'll give it on a couple levels, just kids in general, but kids and the teachers, kids and the parents, and you get a sex conflict here between males and females too.
Right. And I witnessed this. You know, my daughter will be 25 this year. I've experienced everything that they're showing in this in some way. Boys in the past 20 years, Mike, if you're not aware, they have been pretty much a second class citizen in the educational system. You literally sit in a room and you could get an A and the girl gets a B, and everything is geared towards supporting the girl with the B and making her feel good about her B, and they ignore that you got an A. And if you didn't get an A, nobody's there to support you for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that all along throughout the educational system. There is a strong support system, and me and parents like me are at fault for this. We had daughters that we wanted to have an equal opportunity, and we went overboard with it. We went overboard with the support of our daughters to the detriment of the boys, and there's become a deficit in support of boys, not only through the educational system, but entertainment. I mean,
well, emotionally too. I mean, this film addressed that.
So I need you to understand something. I know that you understand symbolism. I know you understand subliminal. I know you understand propaganda. But what has happened, think about a kid that is 30 years old all the way down and younger. All his life, every time he watches a comedy, whether it's on Nickelodeon or ABC, what is the boy character's intelligence usually?
Less.
It's lesser than the daughter. The daughter is usually a straight A student. She does everything right. The boy is stupid. He ain't just like dumber or lesser than his sister. He's usually a bumbling idiot. You could just randomly take 10 comedies and the boy is always stupid. When you look at the archetype of parents, the mother can figure everything out after the bumbling father has done everything. And that used to be
definitely saw that in this show.
And that's my point, is that's what this second episode was about.
Yes.
That these boys are growing up where they're being told they're lesser than in every place. And then you've got this new social media thing. They even mentioned it, like Andrew Tate and others, who are going all the way beyond what's needed as far as support. They are the polar opposite, where they are the true definition of misogynist. You know, I hear people use the word misogyny all the time, and almost always it's being used incorrectly. Some of these guys are truly, they hate women. And if you have no support on this side, and then somebody's giving you support, and you're a child with a weak mind, you're going to go for that support, whether it's good support or not, whether it's Andrew Tate or joining a gang or something like that. That's what's happened always. No support. I get it from whoever, and whoever is usually bad.
Yep.
I want to give you something that I picked up. A study published on Date Psychology found that a significant portion of young men in the 18 to 25 age group reported never having approached a woman for a date in person. And I'm mentioning this to magnify where he mentioned about the 80-20, because 80-20 meant exactly what he said, but that 80-20 rule is all throughout the male-female interactions.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to mention that because that's in the interview. And it also touched on the Me Too movement. They were basically showing how there's a frustration amongst boys, maybe even men, where I've been basically bridled by society in my masculinity through this Me Too movement. I can't even act normal because there's numerous situations where a woman just don't like that you're masculine, and she will use rules, regulations, laws, situations to destroy you. I can think of one that we saw where it's a company that's predominantly owned and run by women, and a guy had a misstep. He really did. It was a true misstep. He did wrong. So I'm not denying that. But it wasn't of the magnitude that it was made into. It was only made to that magnitude because it was done toward a woman. And they didn't just let him go. They drug him through the mud. They squeezed an apology out of him. And once they got the apology out of him, they flicked him away and they tried to ruin him. And you know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
And I've seen that type of thing happen in the workplace. I've seen that happen I've just seen people at a dinner table or at a gathering, and it's men and women arguing, and women will use that Me Too dynamic to bridle the men. So it's a frustrating thing that when you have interactions male to male, well, if I don't like what you say, I'll slap the shit out of you, and you know it. And so that's the bridle, but I have to just follow some rule or regulation. And men have like this understanding. I know that any interaction with another male could possibly end in death. And it's frustrating to have little women walking around feeling like they can do twice as much as a man to you, and you can't do nothing. It's like having a pit bull and you bring a mouse into the house and he's supposed to not do nothing to it.
Yep.
So, and I'm not saying those are my thoughts. I'm telling you, these are the things that are out there. So even though you didn't really enjoy this one, I enjoyed it because this was the one that was most in line with what is going on with youth today, what's being inputted and outputted in their feelings.
Yeah. So you're talking about moving on to episode 3 now.
Yes.
Yeah, episode 3 I would agree that was the most emotional, because this is the episode where you find out that the kid, the boy, has anger management issues for sure. And he is been pushed. This is also where you kind of find out that he was treated poorly by not only the girl that he killed, but also other girls in the school, and through social media, that he was called ugly, that he was whatever, insufficient in many ways. They kind of ripped his masculinity apart. And the counselor, the psychologist that was interviewing him to report to the court, was pulling all this out, and he was becoming increasingly more agitated as episode 3 went on, and had a multitude of outbursts at the counselor. And there was a real tension there, because
this goes,
first of all, she was a woman.
I was about to say, this goes back to everything that I just said. So he has this distorted idea of masculinity already in his mind. And he's literally insulted that this woman is questioning him.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, that's right. So episode 3 was basically in a room, was an interview, and this is where you found out. I mean, at that point, you knew, okay, he did it. If there was any question before that, you were like, oh yeah, he did it. And he was still denying it. Like, so for those of you that did not watch, he basically never totally admitted to doing the crime until, well, I mean, in theory, he never admitted to doing the crime, but we'll get to that in episode 4. But in episode 3, he was still in, quote, denial phase, although it became obvious to the viewer that he did it. And you started also seeing why.
He didn't say he did it, but he did say he did it in a way. Because he said basically, I could have touched her and done anything I wanted to her.
Yes.
So I mean, it leaves room for him to say, I walked up on the body, but how would you have been able to do that? Because you just killed her.
Right. Yeah.
And that's really when she had shock and sort of like fear most of the interview, but that's when she started to have disgust.
Yes.
Because he felt that there was some kind of honor. He felt like there should be some kind of understanding in his reasoning and logic for doing what he did. And I guess that's what makes you crazy. He actually really felt like there was something valid about what he was saying, and it was really disgusting.
Yep.
And he delivered it. You felt like he was that kid.
Yeah, exactly. And she did a great job of acting as well, because she legit looked petrified.
And that's what I'm saying about these A-level performances, because I can see a lot of people having that job and they would have been a lot more demonstrative in their reactions and stuff. She acted like an actual professional trying to do their job and not reveal their emotion.
Yes.
But show the audience that she's having that moment.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It was amazing. Yep.
I believe that her and him, she's going to get a supporting nod and he's going to get a leading nod for everything that it qualifies for. And I think he's gonna rack up. That little boy is gonna rack up. I hope this is not the crescendo already of his career.
Right. Yeah. So let's go on to what I thought was an interesting episode. Are we going on to episode 4?
I just wanted to mention some of the things that were revealed, like the message of the whole thing is that the youth today, they have many identity crises, and we're talking more about males. But there's a big thing going on. We've been discussing it when we talk about politics. The youth today have these identity crises, and defining masculinity has been one of the biggest ones now. That's like at the top of the heap. Yeah. And it's often butting heads with society, telling you what you feel naturally. They're telling you it's toxic.
Yep. And we've talked about this even when we were talking about politics and the bro culture. And we talked about, with podcasts, listen to Joe Rogan and who's tuning into that, and the juxtaposition between, say, the feminism movement and the males. And then you saw even during this election with, Kamala Harris and the angst involved with this. And there's so this, and then, and Phil, you and I have talked about social media at great length. And a lot of this comes from our society today, because you can find out information super quick. You can do major damage to somebody psychologically through words. And what is social media? You can convey words really easily and really quickly.
And this gets to, did you catch on to what was the final straw? What was the one singular thing that made him do it?
I thought it was
was the Instagram post calling him but it wasn't just the post, it was calling him an incel.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm an old man, but from my understanding, that's the top. That's worse than a woman calling you a bitch.
Right. Yeah.
That's supposed to be the worst thing for these young people now. And
yep.
Do you know what an incel is? Because I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for you to read the definition, because I know you got it up on your computer.
Absolutely. A heterosexual man, incel, is defined as a heterosexual man who blames women and society for their lack of romantic success. So instead of them taking on the weight that maybe I'm unattractive, or maybe I don't have the gift of gab, or maybe I have a micro penis, whatever it is.
Right.
They look, and that's a thing that goes beyond this. most people look for an excuse. Most people
Yeah,
are not
right.
accountable. Okay.
So this leads very good into episode 4, because I think episode 4 brings it to, so if you think about it, 1 is chaotic. It sets up the the whether he did it or not. Episode 2 was more focused on the reasons behind what goes on, like you said, in the school system, in the society thing. Episode 3 is pulling it out of his mind. Where is he? Why did he do this? How does the social media, how does the basically abuse of young boys, I guess you could call it. Episode 4 brings you into the family side of it, right? Because episode 4 was all about the parents. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, the boy is not even in episode 4. So episode 4 is almost entirely focused on the 2 parents, the mom and dad, and the sister. And once again, remembering it's a one take, continuous filming. It starts in the morning. They take a trip to, I'll call it Home Depot.
So before because you're going to set them up for this, this is exactly 13 months
13
after
months.
the crime.
Right.
And it is the father's birthday.
That's right.
So
Father's birthday.
That means that he had a birthday a month after this happened, and now this is his second birthday.
Yep. So and it's his birthday, and the kid obviously is in jail, detention center still. Yeah, hasn't gone to court yet, or hasn't gone through the trial yet. And this sets up to elaborate on what Phil said earlier. This reinforces that the sister is really in my opinion, was really the sort of the bedrock of the family. The sister is the most sane, most normal, most upstanding citizen of the 4 of them.
Stand-up person, moral, emotionally mature. I would say all those things for her.
Yes. So the episode starts out, basically they get up in the morning and they discover that the dad, who's a plumber, has a nice plumber truck, and somebody spray painted it, largely in response to that. So the indication here is that the family is being outcast, right? Because they're the family of a murderer, of the murderer kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it continues on. They head to the Home Depot, whatever, to get paint thinner, whatever, to fix the thing. And here, to me, this was a very critical episode because, I'm just going to tell you how I took it, Phil, and you can correct me or see if you saw it differently. But this is where I find out that some of what the kid got came from the dad. And the dad is, if you haven't seen the show, the dad is super muscular. He's a bit of I don't want to say he's a meathead, but he's a little bit, they're trying to draw a little bit of what you said, Phil, earlier, a stereotype of the guy, the dad is dumber. The mom has the answers, right? They kind of drew that comparison a little bit, certainly with the contrast with the sister.
They subtly made the point in the beginning. She was in the first episode, her questioning why he would choose the father in such
father.
And
That's
then
right.
she then they even have the dialogue where he basically is saying, I should have had you go in and be his support. You are the smart one. So they are definitely creating that scenario.
And the dad is questioning at this point, legitimately. He's doing way more of the questioning than the mom is about whether he raised the kid wrong. Is it my fault? Is he a murderer because of me? Blah, 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 blah. And I think in the beginning of the episode, you feel like, yeah, maybe not, maybe. But then as it progresses and you go and they get the paint, and then he throws the paint thinner and then he has the emotional outburst of the dad very closely, to me, correlates with the child, with the son. So you can see that the son got some of the genes from the dad. There's no question. And so you said the hardship of what the family is going through all of this. You can see, but you also pick up some of where he got it from. That's the way I saw it, Phil.
The father was, in my opinion, like a typical father. Mm-hmm. And they made the point of every time the son would recollect an event that involved his father, it was where the son was trying to do something that was considered stereotypically boy masculine.
Male.
And the father was highly disappointed in his performance or lack of performance.
Yep.
So that's where I saw the major fault in his parenting.
Yep.
When he saw that his son was lesser than in certain things, he just kind of turned his back to him. He didn't support him. He's like, okay, you're not an athlete. Maybe you're
right.
You're something else.
Yeah.
But he had that. He was kind of like the all in the family guy. You know what I mean? He wants I want my son playing baseball and basketball. We all do. But if you don't get that, you have understanding and you move forward.
Right. And, and this is the episode, obviously, where you find out what the viewer knew for the last 3 hours. The dad seems to come to the revelation when the son, it's his birthday and the son tells him on the phone. So you only hear, he's not in the episode. You hear his voice on the phone telling his dad that he wants to change his plea from not guilty to guilty. And the dad immediately goes into, he goes into a shell. He doesn't say a word. He's shell shocked. And, and obviously the episode ends with the dad just bawling his eyes out on a pillow.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, there was some imagery with that, because I feel like they're showing us even more clearly that the daughter was more mature than the parents.
She's the one brought them back together. She was the one that had sense enough. Wherever we go, we're going to be ostracized. Might as well stay right here.
Right.
That's right. She was, even when he called, they were acting funny the whole time while the son was on the call. She was the only one who looked like she was like hurt and had true emotions.
Yep.
And what made that so resounding was they were definitely trying to make the point. This boy is crazy. He's homicidal, but it has nothing to do with that he grew up in. They weren't beating him. They weren't sexually molesting him. He grew up very typical.
Yes, exactly. Very, very normal. There was no extenuating circumstances. They were very careful to show you there was not some kind of background extenuating circumstances from the past.
So, Mike, if you have to grade this, I didn't watch it. We're just sitting there waiting for our oil to get changed, and this comes up. Are you recommending this to me? And what would be your brief explanation to me?
Well, I would highly recommend watching it if you guys haven't watched it, for two reasons. One, if you are at all like I am, any kind of a film or recording buff, the way that they film this is amazing. So that's the first thing. That's from a technical, forget about the story. From the story side of it, everything that Phil and I have been talking about over the last hour should probably give you the indication that you can overcome your Mike-isms about British accents and weird things. And I would highly recommend watching it, because I think that it is sadly very, very accurate and could happen more and more. not less and less. Our society is going more in the direction of creating this kind of problem and not so much the other direction. That's my opinion.
Well, I highly recommend it. I feel like no matter who you are, what your station is in life, there are going to be a multitude of things for you to grab a hold of and relate to. And I mentioned this last week. Most of our movies that are considered modern and up to date, all they really do is take an old story and then they'll have them text and put the little bubbles up there of the text messages or something like that. There's really not too many modern movies that are like current and relevant in every way.
Right.
This was a current, relevant movie to what's happening right this second.
Yep.
So that was the pull for me.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, oh, somebody actually took the time to really actually write something, because it's usually just retreads. Even some of my favorite directors and cinematographers, the things that they do, it's just a retread if you watch enough movies.
Yep.
This was something new for your eyes and for your ears. And if that's something alone that intrigues you, you're going to love this movie.
I agree. So you never know what you're going to get here on this podcast because, we took a week of just talking about one series and we told you to watch it before. So if you listen to us, you give us some feedback as to whether you agree with us, our assessment of this or not. And throw out your assessment and ideas. And if you have not watched it, I recommend watching it and then sending us what you feel about it. And we'll see if you come to the same conclusions that we do.
And if you haven't watched the movie yet, even though this was spoiler laden, I promise you, we have not ruined the show for you.
Not at all. No, not really. Yeah, we knew about that much when we started watching it, to be honest. Well, you don't know anything that is going to ruin it for you. I agree.
All right, you got anything else to say, Mike?
No.
All right, guys, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming, I think, next week. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.